are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Okay. Well, Dr. Livingston and I know each other from way back. We went to naturopathic medical school together back in Connecticut, and she's still out there. And she's like my sister from another mother. So when we were back at med school, we love to tag team on patients together because we have a really similar philosophy of how to do things. And I wanted to bring Dr. Livingston on the live today because there are a number of herbs and homeopathy and a lot of things that I put in my guide that I like to use in my practice. But I think every naturopathic doctor has different herbs, different homeopathy, different ways of boosting immune function, especially in acute illness. And so I wanted to get Dr. Livingston's take on it, especially being out there in the East Coast. So can you tell us how it's been? Have you seen any COVID-19 patients? Have you supported them with immune support? Tell me what's been going on over there.
Yeah, so I have supported some patients that have tested positive. Just a little disclaimer that we have to say, nothing that we say here is treating or curing coronavirus or COVID, and I'm not saying that I did that with patients. However, I'm really confident in the support that we initiated, both before and during their positive test, and the fact that it was able to really help them recover and reduce recovery time and reduce the symptoms that they experienced. So I had a number of patients that I did support and have been supporting that have tested positive, as well as some patients who were quarantined with other people that were testing positive as well. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that they all have in common is that they were already utilizing a lot of the foundations of health that are so important right now. They were supporting their immune systems with getting enough sleep, with proper diet, with stress reduction, with exercise. And on top of that, they were also really empowered and educated and comfortable utilizing some herbs and homeopathy right away at the first sign of illness. And I think that made a lot of difference for those patients that I've been working with and supporting.
Yeah, I think that's really key. I actually just wrote a post about, in the first couple of hours of having that sore throat or the first couple of symptoms of getting sick, you want to take your immune support right away.
Yeah.
So I know the herbs that I put in my guide, and maybe a lot of people have already read my guide who are on this live, but what about you? And actually I wanted to stop and say, we do want to answer questions. We are going to do the questions at the very end. So if you want to save your specific—
I haven't looked to even see.
Yeah, there's someone who just asked about herbs and supplements. We will actually answer that. But if you have questions, please, once we're done chatting, I want to answer those questions. And as we're going, if you ask questions, we will answer them. But kind of specific questions, which we'll want to get more into, definitely at the very end, we're going to ask if you have questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Yeah.
So I know the herbs and everything that I use. What are the herbs and the vitamins that you have found really helpful that people can, go out to the store and grab right now and give them support?
Yeah, so the vitamins that they started right away, which I think we're not going to talk too much about, but I think it's really worth mentioning, were things like vitamin A, especially using some higher doses of vitamin A if not pregnant, and again, if it being advised by your physician to do so. Vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So a lot of people have those things at home, maybe can't get them at the store right now, but hopefully stocked up a little bit on those. And I think those are some great powerhouses to implement right away at the first sign of symptoms. And then with herbs, I love herbs because you'll hear things about botanical medicine like an herb is anti-inflammatory, it's antiviral, it's antimicrobial, it's antioxidant, it's so many different things, right? And I think the great thing about them is that the reason they're capable of having so many different functions is that they're impacting the immune system, right? So they're getting in there and they're going to maybe impact your innate or your initial immune response, or maybe they're going to help with the adaptive or the secondary immune response. And that's why they can have so many different types of actions, because all these actions are functions of how we're supporting our immune system with those herbs. So some of the herbs, and we can kind of go in a little bit of detail through each one. Some people might know a lot about some of them and maybe not so much. So everyone's probably heard of echinacea. That's one that I had heard a lot of my patients say, you know, we had that at home, we started the echinacea right away, or they were maybe already on that, knowing that this was a potential risk for them to encounter during this time. And so that's a really great one.
How do you like to tell your patients to take the echinacea, you know, at the onset of an illness?
Yeah, right at the onset of an illness, I'm usually having them dose that pretty frequently, every couple hours, or even every hour when they're first feeling sick. That's going to be great for upper respiratory tract infections. It's really going to increase the body's ability to get rid of that infection or get rid of that virus. So it increases things like macrophages, which start to eat up the virus, and it prevents the virus from binding to and getting into cells. So that's a great one to kind of start right away and very frequently.
Yeah, I think it's really key. And for me, I tell my patients every hour in the first 6 hours. So you kind of know when you get that little feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm about to get sick. And like any immune support you have at home, you just grab it and start taking it, for me, every hour for the first 6 hours. And then if you do that, I find that myself, my patients, my daughter, I either don't get sick, or the sickness I get will just be really short and it'll just go away really quickly. Because what you're trying to do is not allow that virus to replicate and not allow it to kind of get deeper into the system.
Exactly. Right? And I think that's the beauty of it, that when you can enhance and support the immune system in that way, it's so much more capable of preventing that replication and that immune system dysfunction. And it's amazing how quickly, you'll feel better, or you won't get sick at all.
Yeah.
And my daughter knows that too. She knows to kind of reach for it and grab for them frequently.
I know, my daughter's like, Mommy, I need the stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we want to do. We want to educate our friends, our family, you know, for people who are on this live, for your friends and your family, you know, just educate them and say, okay, as soon as you start feeling any signs of illness, just take these immune supportive mechanisms. And then it'll just give us ourselves the best fighting chance in terms of boosting our immune function. So we have
I think sometimes we're not used to that idea of doing something frequently. Sometimes our natural medicines and our herbs need to be dosed a little bit different than what you might be used to, you know, 1 pill a day type thing. And at first that might be difficult to wrap your mind around, but when you think about how it is supporting the immune system, it is important.
Yeah.
Speaking of, go ahead.
I was just saying, I feel like we should think of it as an army, and then we're just like supporting that army, just giving our army tools and weapons and everything it needs to fight off that microbe. Yeah,
exactly. And you're not only supporting the army, you know, with tools and ability to fight that virus off, but you're also kind of supplying more men or women into your army as well. So different herbs will have different functions in that way. And I think that's why they can all be really complementary too.
Yeah. So we have echinacea, which is great at the onset. What other herbs do you really like?
So I really like elderberry, speaking of kids. Number one for kids because it tastes really good. So that's, you know, the purple, it's beautiful, the color, and kids love how it tastes. So my daughter loves that one. And again, that's a really nice antiviral because it prevents the virus from entering the cell, and then it also prevents the replication of the virus as well. So that's one that I'll dose her pretty frequently with that as well. And I'll use that throughout the cold and flu season too. So that's something that
that's one that can be used safely right throughout the season. So I like that one a lot too.
Yeah, exactly. Another nice one would be licorice or glycyrrhiza. So I like that because it actually has actions on the mucous membrane. So it's nice and soothing to the mucous membranes. It also has flavonoids that are antiviral. It's also really nice support to the adrenal glands. So it's nice during times of stress as well, and helps with upper respiratory tract issues as well.
Yeah, love that one too.
Yeah,
great.
And tastes good.
And another I think that's one of the things is we need to make these things taste good for our kids. If you are getting the capsule versions, you can stick it in some applesauce. I find that works. Like if you can only find a capsule version of echinacea or any of these, then you could actually open it up and put in some applesauce. So I've done that as well too. But I do love the elderberry tinctures or syrups for my daughter.
Yeah, and I should say the nice thing too about herbs, a lot of them can be in teas as well. So, echinacea could be in a tea. Herbs can be in teas, they can be in tinctures, they can be, as you said, syrups, capsules. There's a lot of different forms and ways that you can dose them and take them.
Yeah.
And it's really nice that they're versatile in that way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Another good one would be eupatorium or bone set. So that's
yeah.
used a lot during the 1918 flu epidemic. And that's nice for like treating the muscle pains and aches. Also is going to have some, immune supportive properties. And so that's a good one to use kind of acutely right at the beginning of.
And do you like to get that in a tincture form?
You can. You might not be able to get the kids to take it, but
yeah. I like to use that in the homeopathy version, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But okay, that's a great one. That's not one I have in my repertoire, but yeah.
What else do I like? Astragalus is a really good one. So that's both going to activate the innate and the adaptive immune system. So it's going to be really nice immune stimulation and helping the immune system both in the beginning and kind of throughout the infection for resolution of the infection symptoms.
Yeah. And I think we keep talking about innate and adaptive immune system. And I kind of wanted to stop and just talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So your innate immune system is that first line. Well, your first line of defense is really your physical barrier, like your skin and the secretions in your mouth, etc. But that second level is your innate immune system. And as you said, it's like the macrophages and the natural killer cells, and those are like your army that are going to attack all the microbes that are coming in your system. And so that's what these herbs are going to do in those first couple of hours. So I can't stress enough that as soon as you start to feel the first signs of illness, just take those things to boost your innate immune system, which we keep referring to. And then I don't know if you want to talk about maybe the adaptive immune system, which is the second line of defense.
Yeah, sure. So the adaptive immune system is really going to be more like T cells and these natural killer cells that come in and a little bit further along as the body's fighting an infection. They're going to, create antibodies, and they're going to respond to the antigens in a little bit more of a kind of detailed along the pathway way. And so I think it's nice when you are doing something right away to support that innate immune system, kind of get the virus out, prevent it from replicating, and then also help the body in its really adaptive immune response to it and to creating immunity, which also will be what creates immunity in the future later on when you're exposed to that virus.
Right. Again. So the adaptive immune system has memory. So those are the antibodies where if we get exposed again, then our body will have a memory, will kind of know what to do. And actually these herbs support both, right? A lot of these herbs support the adaptive immune system too. So not only at the onset, but if you keep taking it through your illness, it should support the creation of the T cells and the B cells and all of that too. Yeah.
Which I think is so cool.
I know. I love herbs. I mean, I just want everyone to learn about it and keep these things stocked in their cabinet. So we'll keep talking about herbs. If anyone has any questions about herbs right now, you can start typing those in and we can start answering questions about herbs. And then we also want to start talking about using food as medicine too, because, I think that when we can't get access to a lot of these supplements right now, and you're going to Whole Foods and they're, it's just not stocked because everyone is just like the toilet paper, just taking them off the shelves. We can also use food as medicine. So what do you like to use in your, in your pantry as medicine?
Yeah, so there's a lot that you might have at home or might not, but you could, easily get. And one of the things that I like about this is some of the reasons that food can be medicine is because of the constituents or the parts of it that, whether it's an herb or not, it might be from a plant, it might be from, a fruit or a vegetable, but they're going to act a lot in the same way as far as they're immunomodulating, or they're helping to increase our immune response and support our immune response. So some of those things that you might have just maybe as a dried herb at home would be things like oregano and thyme and rosemary. If you have any, herbs de Provence, any sort of herbal blends, a lot of times they'll have herbs in them that do have, antimicrobial properties and can boost the immune system. One of the things I found interesting in an article I was reading was about how COVID-19 can be so, it can be so deadly and so dangerous because it activates a part of that innate immune system response called an inflammasome. And a lot of the constituents in our